The setting sun cast a warm, golden hue across the quiet stretch of road. The long shadows from the fading daylight stretched out as Major Clara Williams guided her silver sedan back towards her home. The rhythmic sound of tires on the pavement was calming, offering a quiet reprieve after a grueling day at a military ceremony commemorating fallen soldiers. She was dressed in civilian attire, a well-fitted charcoal blazer over a crisp white blouse and polished black pants. Her uniform was neatly folded and stowed in a garment bag on the passenger's seat, her military ribbons and insignia carefully tucked away. As Clara adjusted her rearview mirror, she caught sight of the flashing red and blue lights of a patrol car in the distance, slowly closing the gap between them. Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't been speeding, had kept her lane, and felt confident she had followed all traffic rules. Yet, there the officer was, maintaining his position behind her, signaling for her to pull over. Clara sighed, her instincts sharpening. Something didn't feel right. Her military training took over, urging her to stay calm and handle the situation with precision. She eased her vehicle to the side of the empty highway, the quiet expanse adding to the unease. Lowering the window, she watched as the officer approached. The man was broad-shouldered with a square jaw, his badge gleaming in the dimming light. Officer Sean Blake. Clara recognized him immediately. His posture was stiff, his air of authority bordering on arrogance. She had encountered his type before. Men who wore power like a shield, men who believed their uniform justified their behavior. License and registration. Officer Blake commanded, his voice blunt, lacking the usual professionalism of someone in his position. Clara raised an eyebrow, but remained composed. "Is there a problem, officer?" she asked calmly as she handed over her documents. Blake barely glanced at her ID before returning his gaze to her with an unsettling intensity, his eyes scanning her face and then her hands, as though he were searching for any sign of weakness. "Step out of the vehicle," he demanded, his tone now cold and threatening. Clara's grip tightened on the steering wheel, her pulse steady. "Excuse me?" she asked, surprised. "I said, step out of the vehicle," Blake repeated, his voice low with warning. She kept her breathing even, her mind already calculating her options. "May I ask why I'm being stopped?" she inquired, carefully maintaining her calm. "I haven't broken any laws." Blake's lips curled into a mock smirk. "Suspicious behavior," he said, as though that explained everything. "Now step out." Clara knew exactly what was happening here. It wasn't about law or procedure. It was a power trip, a test. If she resisted, it could escalate, and if she complied, it might still turn dangerous. She opened the door and stepped out, hands clearly visible, movements deliberate. "Where are you headed?" Blake asked as he walked around her car, eyes scanning her vehicle with the air of someone inspecting prey. "Home," Clara replied evenly. "I just attended a military event." Blake scoffed. "Military, huh?" He laughed mockingly, as if it were hard to believe. "And who exactly are you supposed to be?" Clara straightened her posture. "Major Clara Williams, U.S. Army." Blake paused, his eyes narrowing, as if he didn't believe her. After a beat of silence, he sneered. "Really? A major?" He looked her up and down again, this time with more scrutiny. "Where's your military ID?" Clara's brows furrowed in confusion as she patted her blazer and wallet. "Nothing." She checked her wallet again, flipping through the compartments slowly. Still nothing. It dawned on her. She had left her ID back at the base when she changed out of her uniform. "I don't have it with me," Clara admitted, her voice steady but tinged with irritation. Blake raised an eyebrow. "How convenient," he said, flipping her driver's license over in his hand and tapping it against his palm. "No veteran status either. Funny, a major with no proof." Clara resisted the urge to show frustration. "This is my vehicle. The registration's in the glove compartment," she said, keeping her tone even. "You're welcome to check." Blake smirked. "I'll be checking more than that." He moved closer to her car, his intentions clear. "You don't have probable cause to search my vehicle," Clara stated firmly. Blake's expression hardened, his voice dripping with condescension. "Suspicious behavior. That's cause enough. And you're acting nervous, ma'am." Clara knew his type well. Men like Blake believed their badge gave them carte blanche to harass anyone. But she wasn't intimidated. My department has a database, Clara said calmly. You can run my name. It'll confirm my record. Blake chuckled darkly. I could do that, sure. But I prefer to do things the old-fashioned way. His smirk deepened. Step away from the vehicle. Clara remained still, unwavering. I already complied when you ordered me out of the car. You're escalating this without any legal reason. Blake's face darkened. Refusing an officer's order can have consequences, he threatened, his voice now low and dangerous. Clara stood her ground. You wouldn't threaten to arrest me without cause, would you? Blake's jaw tightened. Refusing an order never ends well. He leaned closer. Resisting a lawful command, that gets ugly. Clara's eyes never left his. I know my rights, officer, and I know exactly what you're doing. Either arrest me or let me go. There was a tense silence. Then, Blake reached for his radio. Unit 5 to 4, possible 10 to 29. Send backup. Clara's voice remained calm. You're making a mistake. Blake didn't respond immediately. Instead, he continued to speak into his radio. This is Officer Blake, over. Static crackled, and a voice came through, sharp and urgent. Officer Blake, this is Captain Dawson. What the hell do you think you're doing? Clara's eyes didn't leave Blake as the situation rapidly shifted. You are unlawfully detaining Major Clara Williams, a highly decorated officer of the United States Army. Captain Dawson's voice thundered through Blake's radio. Cease all actions immediately and escort her to the station. Apologize and make it quick. Blake stiffened. Sir, do you even know what protocol is? Dawson's voice cut him off. You ignored every regulation, violated the law, and harassed a senior officer. Get in your car and drive. Pray I don't report your badge number. The radio crackled again, and Blake stood frozen. He didn't know how to respond. Clara's voice broke through the tension. Are you finished? She asked quietly. Blake didn't reply. He stormed to his patrol car, his hands shaking. Get in, he barked at her. With measured steps, Clara gathered her belongings, placing them back into her bag with care. She climbed into the back of Blake's car without a word, her expression unreadable. The drive to the station was a quiet one, the tension in the air thick. At the station, Clara barely stepped out of the car before Blake threw it into park. Inside, the air shifted as officers glanced up from their desks, whispers spreading. Chief Derek Warren emerged from his office, his experience and no-nonsense attitude clear. Major Williams, he greeted, then turned to Blake. My office. Now. Inside, Warren wasted no time. You harassed a U.S. Army major, ignored protocol, and embarrassed this department. Blake's defense was weak. You're suspended, Warren declared. If it were up to me, you'd lose your badge tonight. Turning to Clara, Warren's tone softened. On behalf of this department, I apologize for your experience. Clara nodded, calm. I expect changes. Protocol must be followed. Outside, Clara knew this wasn't over. The next morning, Blake followed her, his sedan tailing closely. He waited for a chance to strike, and in a fit of rage, tried to force her off the road. Clara was ready. The situation escalated quickly, but she remained composed, responding with precision. Within moments, Blake found himself pinned to the ground, gasping for air. You brought this on yourself, Clara said, watching as backup arrived. Blake was cuffed and taken away in humiliation. But Clara wasn't done. She pressed charges, assault and attempted vehicular homicide, ensuring the evidence was flawless. She reached out to a journalist, ensuring Blake's record became public knowledge. His career was shattered, his reputation destroyed. At trial, Blake showed no remorse, but the judge handed down a final sentence: 15 years in federal prison. Clara left the courtroom not with vengeance, but with the satisfaction of seeing justice served. Blake had believed he held power, but in the end, he learned that true power was never his. Now, he would spend the rest of his life reflecting on his own actions.